Alright guys, we're a month into 2025 and we got quite a lot of new isekai slash power fantasy shows, and today we're going to go over all of them and talk a little bit about them and rank them based on my preferences. So first thing I want to get out of the way is kind of like what shows are we including here. When we kind of like think about this, the first term that comes to mind is isekai, but a lot of other shows kind of get lumped in together, like shows that are like I got banished from my party for whatever reason, or other dungeon crawler or fantasy shows that include game-like elements like leveling up and skills and stuff. But ultimately, these are all the main thing that they have in common is people usually watch them for like the power fantasy element. So hopefully this includes everything. If I forgot any show, let me know down in the comments. But yeah, there's that. And I guess we're gonna talk about the tiers. So S is would be the best of the best. If you're into this genre, I definitely recommend checking these out. A is it's pretty good. Still would probably recommend if you're really into it. B, if it's pretty the mid stuff. If you're like a real isekai crackhead, you'll probably put up with it. And then C is stuff that either just didn't make the cut, we dropped it, or that it's kind of in danger of getting dropped. And then there's also this here, which there's a couple of shows here that are sequels or season 2s that I didn't finish season 1, so I don't want to just jump ahead. And we'll talk about that quickly, I guess. So there's Ishura here. So I actually made a video on all the shows from 2024 that fit this category. I think there's 50 something shows. It's a pretty long video, but if you're interested, go check that out. I did talk about Ishura there, but basically I like the opening of Ishura, but some of the other characters and some of the other plot lines I kind of lost interest midway through. So I didn't get a chance to finish it, but I heard that season 2 is actually doing pretty good right now, so I do want to check that out. And I'll probably do an update on all these shows kind of either at the end of the season, or maybe another one kind of at the end of February for 2/3 of the way. So hopefully by then we'll be caught up and we can kind of talk about this. The other show is My Happy Marriage. Now you might be like, what the heck is this? If you don't know what this is, this is primarily a romance, but if you're I get to explain it. What the show is about is this girl here. She's kind of nobility, or her family's important, but her mom died and her dad remarried, and I guess the family they don't like her, so they try to get rid of her by marrying her off to some army commander who has a bad reputation. He's known to be really cold, like a monster, but he's just misunderstood, and as she hangs out with him or spends time with him, she starts to fall for him, and that's kind of what the title is. But like I said, there's actually supernatural elements to this than fantasy stuff. She actually has blood from a really OP clan. She's a descendant, and yeah, she has super OP powers. I don't know how much they go into it, but that is kind of power fantasy element. Same thing, I didn't really end finishing season 1. I realized I left this out of my other video, I think. But I could see us catching up, and maybe we could talk about this in an updated video. And I guess there's also this. This is one of those 4-minute ones. This is Baby Isekai. It's basically the trope of getting reincarnated with your past memories, so you can use that to your advantage, but really watered down. Honestly, yeah, it's not for us really. So I guess we could get started on the actual shows. First one's Beheneko. So this is about some dude that was he was a knight, I think. He died and got reincarnated as a behemoth, but it kind of just looks like a cat. But eventually it transforms into it can transform into this big purple thing. But this is a show you don't really watch for the plot. He gets adopted by this big booba elf here, and honestly, it is a fan service show. They kind of make it a point, or that they think he's a special type of cat that can crossbreed with everyone, and everyone's kind of just thirsting over the cat. So the elf that adopted him, he kind of just acts as our guardian while she goes on typical adventure quests and kind of ranks up with her party and stuff. When as more people join, everyone's just thirsting over the cat. Honestly, as much as it's a fan service show, maybe you don't necessarily watch this Dagoon or whatever, but it's so ridiculous that it's actually kind of funny. The only thing is a few episodes in, kind of feels like you've seen everything. This kind of a problem with shows that kind of rely on gimmicks like this. Might get old eventually. The deer one, Nokotan, is kind of one that comes to mind, something like that. So first few episodes pretty funny, but yeah, we'll put this here. Okay, Farmagia. Okay, so this one's might be the lowest rated out of all of these on Mal, for example, but I thought this was gonna be a kids show, and maybe it is, but the character designs are from the guy that made Fairy Tail, and if you watched Fairy Tail back in the day, well, you'd know that his character designs are not not like kid friendly. If you know, you know. Well, actually, I don't know if that's true. I didn't watch Wave Master or Eden Zero, so I don't know if that's true for all of the series. But anyways, in here in the story, like people are like farming monsters, like literally farming them like crops, and like raising monsters, and that's kind of like what the world goes on about. And like the main character, he hasn't like awakened he hasn't successfully farmed a monster yet, and so but he wants to be like the strongest Farmagia, that's what they're called. So that's kind of like where the power fantasy element comes through. Honestly, there were some like kind of funny moments in the beginning that made me question whether or not this was a kids show. But honestly, the production just isn't great. Like I think this is an adaptation of a game, so and like I could tell like the plot is kind of a little like really shonen-esque. So yeah, I guess for a younger audience, but yeah, this fortunately did not make the cut. Fruit Master, aka Nut Master. So this one, it's about, it's just a regular fantasy world, and I guess like at a certain point in your life, you can like eat a fruit from the church, and which will give you like your special ability. And the main character, his ability is that, or like part of his ability is that he can just keep eating fruits. Like if you normally eat more than one fruit, you would die, but he's like immune to that. So he can just like keep getting more skills and keep getting OP. And the main complaint about the show is that why doesn't he just like eat an infinite amount of fruits, gain infinite amount of power? And honestly, you know, I understand why you'd be frustrated with that, but let's be honest. Okay, like a lot of these shows you don't need to watch serious plot. Like I know that's a cop out, but also sometimes the plot's just got a plot. You know, like he's the only person in the history that like has this ability, or I guess like. I don't remember if they mentioned someone else had that before, but like it kind of makes sense that like if you're the only person that's like supposedly immune to something that normally kills people, would you just like go like I don't know, maybe you would, maybe, but it's kind of understandable. But I also do understand why people are frustrated with it, because he only eats extra fruits when like he needs to. Honestly, the production of this is pretty bad, to be honest. Like all the fights are just like PowerPoint presentations, and I think some of like, the last couple of episodes just like had nothing going on. But honestly, I like the characters. The character interactions are pretty great. They're funny, and honestly, the art style's pretty good. It's quite unfortunate. I wish this was done better. I did enjoy the first 2 episodes, and honestly, like I said, the stuff that I'm enjoying is kind of carrying it. So we're kind of just holding on for now. A lot of people already dropped this, but we'll keep it here for now. Mastering Magic. I think the full title is I'm a noble on the brink of ruin, so I tried mastering magic, aka. Or not AK, but this is Classroom Delete Isekai, because main character looks like a Yanakoji, and he has like his own little mini white room. This one's okay. There's supposed to be like some nation building subplot, which I think they're finally starting to get into, because the first few episodes are just him forming contracts with people so they can be his familiar. Like he's just collecting familiars left and right, like literally everybody. So now that we're getting into the plot, hopefully it stays interesting. I'll put this here for now. Strongest Appraiser. Okay, so this one's kind of bait. So the real title of this should be I got murdered by my ex-party members for being useless, but then I got resurrected and gained some cheat skills, so now I'm super OP. This falls into that category of like underappreciated character gets banished, or I guess like his old party used him as bait so that they could escape the dungeon. And he gets rescued by like the World Tree, which is part of the dungeon, and the Guardian like super trains him to be like super OP and use his appraisal power to basically do everything. Like he can basically appraise people's moves so that he can like see them in like super slow-mo or whatever. You know, it's kind of a stretch. You know, I don't know if you watched a video of a healer where like his healing power can essentially do everything. Like he healed the earth to go back in time. Or there's another show I think it was called like what was it called? Am I Actually the Strongest? Something like that, where the main character uses barrier magic to just do everything, essentially. Barriers. But yeah. Basically his powers are beyond appraising at this point, and it's pretty generic. He's just going around collecting waifus and husbandos. He has like that was probably the highlight of the show so far, where he's like in the middle of recruiting a new girl to his party, but some guy's just like, hey, can I join you too? Can I be your husband? And it's like, what the heck? But other than that, this is pretty meh. let's not worry about, like, honestly, these are kind of interchangeable at this point. We'll leave it there. Possibly the greatest alchemist of all time. So this one, dude gets isekai'd by accident, I think, with people that were supposed to be isekai'd to be heroes. But the goddess kind of like gave him like cheat skills as like compensation, but also like she kind of like sent him somewhere else, and also like a year back in time, which is kind of interesting. So the interesting part about this is that at some point you'd expect like the two plot lines to like intersect. So I think that it's okay so far. We'll have to see how like the plots connect. Like I said, the first 3 episodes he's kind of just explaining what he's doing, or like his powers, and how he's actually, it's kind of interesting that he's using it to like, instead of like city build, he's like creating appliances like toilets and fridges, and he's just kind of collecting his party members right now. So you know, we'll see how it pans out. Headhunted Isekai. So this one's normally when you have a salaryman isekai, they kind of like get an entirely new life, but this one's like interesting where it's the salaryman gets isekai'd to keep being a salaryman, but with better working conditions. His new boss is the demon lord, who actually recognizes and appreciates his hard work and puts his skills to actual use. You know, it's pretty funny. So far he's just kind of been like interacting with his new co-workers, like the 4 demon generals. He has this like also this weird ability where he like goes into like a bar in his head, kind of like domain expansion type thing, and he like uses that to like solve problems, even though like it doesn't feel like anything is like really connected with what he did. This was all like fan service with this main girl Omandra here, where she's like in the bar wearing a business suit. If you're into that, yeah, this is pretty enjoyable so far. We'll put this in A. All right, next we get I Left My A Rank Party. So this is one of those like underappreciated characters. He is from a higher rank party, but in this case, he actually left on his own. He didn't get banned, he just straight up left. Yeah, and he ended up meeting up with some of his former students, which I was kind of like worried at the start that he would just meet up with a bunch of kids and then that would be it. But no, they're actually somehow all near his age, which they're all like kind of like an adult cast, or like around adult range, which is pretty refreshing. You know, like if you're kind of getting up there in age, you might appreciate shows with more of an adult cast here and there. So there's that. The production of this is pretty good. The animation is pretty fluid, and there's lots of nice. It's very colorful if you're into that, like I am. And they have like this weird gimmick where people are like live streaming their adventures, so like, you know, the whole world can see how underappreciated main character is. Finally starting to do other stuff too now, where like at the beginning he was kind of like the main character was like taking over, because like I said, he's from a higher rank party and his students are like fresh adventurers, so they kind of weren't doing anything in the beginning, but now they're kind of like starting to earn their stuff to their name, which is good. This is pretty enjoyable. We'll put this in A. Solo leveling. You know, solo leveling, I read the web novel back in the day. I did read a bit of the manhwa, so I'm already familiar with like pretty much what happens. A lot of people are complaining about like random stuff cut here and there, but to be honest, I don't know, they're just finding stuff to complain about. Like some of the stuff that gets cut, like with like the, I don't know, we'll save spoilers just in case, but I think some of the stuff that gets cut can be explained or like added in at a more convenient time later on. Honestly, like everything else is like great about great animation, great OST. You know, production is like pretty good. You know, like a lot of people kind of get like really crappy like adaptations, and you know, people should be happy we're getting a really good one, in my opinion. A lot of the stuff like it's not even necessary. All the anime onlys are happy. So honestly, S tier. I don't know what else to say. Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf. So when you think of like isekai, you don't really like think of this type of show. I think that's why this is kind of going under the radar. So this is about some guy that like, whenever he goes to sleep, and he gets isekai'd in his dreams. So like, he dreams of like himself in like a fantasy world, and it's like continuous. So the next day when he dreams again, he can go back. The thing is, if he dies in his dream, like he wakes up, but he can still go back like the next time he goes to sleep. So he's like one day he's like traveling with his elf companion, and they both get killed by a dragon, or right as they're about to get killed, like they're kind of clutching onto each other. So he wakes up in the real world, but I guess because like he was grabbing onto her, he brings her with him, so she appears in the real world too, in Japan. And that's kind of where the title comes from. She's kind of just like interested in like, oh, what's going on in Japanese culture and stuff. The only thing is this might. I mentioned before about like gimmicks getting old. I'm kind of worried about that, but honestly, so far it's been pretty enjoyable. I'll put it somewhere here, middle of A. Yeah, I'd recommend people to check this out. We'll see we'll see what happens in the long run. From Bureaucrat to Villainess. So this is a 52-year-old man gets hit by a truck and reincarnated into an Otome game as the Villainess. Yeah. So he's supposed to be the Villainess, but he, like his hardworking salaryman and fatherly instincts keep kicking in to like end up being like caring and a good role model. So everyone ends up falling for him, including like the main character of the Otome game and the main character's supposed love interest. This one's production's pretty good. It's pretty funny so far, and honestly, I am kind of worried about like the gimmick getting old too at this point, or like in the long run. But at this point, it's been enjoyable. We'll put it here. Guild Receptionist. So this one's not an isekai, typical or just regular fantasy show, but Receptionist of the guild. Whenever the parties she's managing can't like finish their quests or dungeons, she has to like work overtime. So she finally like got pissed and like started going undercover to clear the dungeons herself. So once again, I was kind of worried, like, what are they gonna do with this? Because that doesn't seem like they could do like 12 episodes of that. Might get old, but no, they kind of pivoted pretty early. There's like actual story going on, and the production of this is pretty good. Honestly, I actually say that as of right now, I'd put this in the S tier category. I'm really enjoying this. Kind of debating if I want to pick up the light novels or not. We'll see. Magic Maker, and if you know, it's also called Incest Maker, and that's because well, okay, we'll explain what the show's about. So, main character gets isekai'd into a world, and he's kind of like, he's excited because he has his memories of his past life, and he like wants to like start doing magic, but apparently there's no magic here. But that's just because no one has discovered it yet, which is kind of interesting. And on an like kind of like a pond outing with his sister, like they notice like the fish are producing magic when they're like courting each other. So it gets kind of weird, like by the end of the episode, where him and his sister are talking about their love for each other, and they start to create that magic phenomena too. That's why it's called Incest Maker. Honestly, most of the shows is pretty mid, but I was interested in like how they'll go from that to like widespread use of magic. But unfortunately, like kind of like all the stuff around, like the characters themselves and the kind of the side characters weren't that interesting. So right now, I don't know if I've officially dropped it, but it's kind of, I don't know. Maybe I haven't internalized in my head that I dropped it, but it's getting there. Middle-aged shopper in another world. So if you watch like campfire cooking in another world, this one's kind of like it, but instead of just buying ingredients, you can just buy literally anything. I think at some point they showed that you could buy guns too. He hasn't pulled that out yet though, unfortunately. He's also Gigi Chad main character, where he's actually willing to bang some of the girls around him. Kind of did that in some of the first few episodes. There's also some plot going on here with so he kind of uses his shopping ability to kind of make money in this fantasy world and like resell stuff, and he wants to like live a slow life. I think right before he got isekai, he was living like a slow life in like some like the outskirts or like a forest or whatever. So he's trying to like recreate that, but obviously there's some like plot going on with like the businesses that he's trying to like get attached to and some like slavery stuff. But overall, I'd say this is pretty enjoyable so far. I think this definitely has like a better story than all the stuff in the big tier. So we'll put this in A. Wait, these two are kind of interchangeable to me. We'll put that there. Red Ranger Isekai. So if you're into like Power Ranger Sentai stuff, you're kind of familiar with all the tropes, like crazy poses, explosions, like big mechs flying everywhere, and that's kind of like what's going on here. So some guy from, I don't remember if it's supposed to be like actually Japan, but like he's like the leader of his Power Ranger-esque team. He's the Red Ranger, and he gets isekai'd while fighting, and he teams up with this girl that's like fallen nobility, and she wants to like rebuild her house by like kind of reaching the top of the magic world. So they kind of like team up to like help each other while he like finds a way to get back home. And you know, the comedy aspect of the show comes from the fact that like all these tropes that I was talking about, like crazy poses, explosions, stuff, like keep happening, and everyone's just like, what the hell's going on? I'm kind of worried that does get old too. Like, if you kind of look at like the source on like Mal and stuff, like it's not like, it's pretty low rated, and maybe that's why. But honestly, so far, this was very enjoyable. I found it pretty funny. Production's like pretty good or decent. Might be good. On the better end. I mean, I'll put this S2, to be honest. Actually, I'll put this second place. I think I did enjoy this better. Hopefully, it doesn't get stale. Like, it seems like most people are enjoying it, so we'll see what happens. And then the last one here is Zenshu. So Zenshu is okay, I guess we'll talk about what it is. It's an animator isekai but she didn't die from being overworked. She died because her boss, manager, like brought expired lunches for all the other workers she doesn't care about, but she just ate one anyways and just died on the spot. And she got like transported to like a fantasy world of a show that she watched, an anime that she watched. But she's still in her same body, so I don't know if we necessarily call it reincarnation. But anyways, her superpower is like, because she knows like the plot of what's going on, she can like change the story at key points by like drawing in something. She uses her like ability to draw something that will like come out of the paper, kind of like Sai from Naruto, I guess. Honestly, the production's like really good. Everything is about it is pretty good, but for some reason people just aren't like vibing with it too much. And one of the discussions around it is because it's a girl main character and her main power is like drawing. Honestly, I think that's fine. Like, obviously this is just my opinion, but for me, I think it's like there's a lot of focus on the plot of the world that she got sent to, and honestly it just feels like a really generic like 90s show. Even though like she's like modern and stuff, it still does feel like a generic like 90s fantasy show, and I think that's actually like I think that might be the problem actually. Like if it was just a more compelling plot, then maybe like there's that like mystery with like what's going on with the elf girl that's acting kind of shady, so which is kind of interesting. But overall, it does feel kind of bland, to be honest, at some points. Even despite having like really great production, we'll see if it can last throughout the season. But honestly, as of right now, I'm gonna say this is A. It's still pretty good. Hopefully, there's no drop off, because if it wasn't for like the high production, I don't know, this would probably be like down here or something. But yeah, I guess this was 19 shows, but I guess if you don't count this, it'll be 16. Yeah, if you guys made it this far, thank you. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any agreements, disagreements, if I forgot anything, let me know. And yeah, I'll probably do more of these for like other genres. I did want to do one for like kind of like romance stuff from 2024. I don't know if there's enough romance specific shows to do one just for here, but we'll see. And we'll probably do a follow-up, like I said, either at the end of the season or maybe another one midway. We'll see if we dropped anything or if our opinions change on some stuff. And yeah, thanks. Leave a comment, like, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you guys next time.